I stick to 90s era Japanese sports cars because it's what feels the feeling for me. Although the S2000 and the RX-7 is pretty similar, but they present both very different driving feel. The S2000 is obviously lesser powered, but it is easier to drive a lesser powered car hard than otherwise. So I enjoy pushing the S2000 a lot more than I enjoy pushing the RX-7. Or if somebody will come with a 34 GTR and swap both cars, I would decline. Hi, I'm Eu Jin and I run JDM Auto Link. I can't really pinpoint a time in my life where it is an aha moment and say, okay, cars are what I like. I guess it's a natural progression from being a kid playing with toy cars to what it is now. I like cars, but I don't know what makes me like them. I have no idea what sparked the interest. It's hard to explain, but somehow it just suits me very well. This is what I like. In '95, my dad took me to the Langkawi International Motor Show, and that's where I see with my own eyes an actual Skyline. I saw the 33 Skyline GTR in midnight purple, and I took photos of it. We spent the whole day there looking at cars, taking photos, and me collecting catalogs. It was my dream car before I encountered it, but when I actually see it with my own eyes, I knew one day I must have this car. And I got it 11 years later. The R34 GTT in 2006 was 145,000. It is the same price as the R33 GTR. So I have a dilemma. Do I get a GTR or buy a newer GTT? I went with a newer car, so I got the GTT. Even then, it was actually way out of my budget. My budget only allows me 120,000. Then I told myself I need to push myself a bit more and loan a bit longer, and I got the GTT in 2006, had it for 10 years. The reason why a GTT over a 33 GTR is just mainly because of age. I just want a newer car which I'm more comfortable with, because at that point in time I wasn't that well versed mechanically in cars. So I want a less problem-free car, get a newer car. When I first got the GTT, a lot of people back then were already converting to GTR look. That's not what I wanted. I wanted it to be as original as it can be. It's a GTT, so I keep it as a GTT. And I found the kit that I really like, which is the Impal 534S body kit. It took me a while, but I managed to find a set. I have to collect it, front bumper, rear bumper, side skirts and all. And when it's finally here, I slap it on the car and that's what I want. That's a GTT, it's not a GTR. I had the GTT for 10 years. I think that's long enough to keep a car. I made a lot of new friends with it, met a lot of people. I had great time, great memories with the car. But I think having driven the car for 7 years on a daily basis, that's my only car. And the last 3 years of ownership, I rarely drive it because we have another car in the family. So I believe it's just time to let it go. And let it go I did. And yeah, I got to say bye-bye at 10 years, 4 months, I think. Yeah. I started my working life in the IT industry. So I did sales, I did pre-sales, I did project management. And after a couple of years, I decided to move out of that into something which I might find a better fit. And I moved on to the automotive industry. Well, to quit corporate is something that's not easy because we are faced with uncertainties in terms of income. But I like to do something which I enjoy doing, which is buying parts for myself. So I figured if I can do parts for myself, I can do parts for everybody else as well. So why not? I quit and try this out full time and see where it leads me. When I had my 34, I think easily 80% of the parts on the car I source myself and I ship it in myself. So it's not something alien to me. It's something I've been doing all this while. I do have a lot of friends who drive the same car as me because when I had the car for 10 years, I run the blog on my car and I get to know a lot of people locally and internationally. So yeah, so conversation goes from where do you find this, where do you source this, and I help them to source parts. And that time, the name JDM Auto Link doesn't exist yet. It's just me. And it just progressed from there to what it is right now. When I started JDM Auto Link, it is a separate entity from my blog. It's not related at all. I keep it separate. Nobody knows JDM Auto Link is me actually. Why the blog? I get to know a lot of people from international markets. So when I started JDM Auto Link, I just sort of channel these people to JDM Auto Link. If somebody asked me where to find this part, I said, hey, just go to JDM Auto Link. They'll hook you up. Most of my customers are abroad, so yes, they're mainly online. If I were to put a figure to it, I would probably say about 80% of my parts are actually exported out of Malaysia. But I do carry other stuff besides Japanese parts. You know, I hold dealership for Tadi steering wheel from the Italy, Aerocash from the UK. I do Ecliptech from Australia. I do Nitto parts from Australia as well. This all complements into the JDM Auto Link family, whereby it's not only Japanese performance parts, but also others. JDM Auto Link is basically a parts shop. Our niche is a very small segment of society. It's just 90s era Japanese sports cars, but primarily we focus on Skyline parts. Why we focus on Skyline parts is because, well, I have a 34 Skyline, so I know the car quite well. I know what is sought after, I know what is hard to get, I know what people want. So yeah, it's basically what I know best. So I focus on that, and the Skyline being a car that is only sold in Japan, save for a small number that's been exported officially to the UK and to Australia, it is a car that does not have parts anywhere else around the world at that time. So it is something I specialize in and something that I know well, and that's how I just focus on Skyline parts. Nismo tax is, of course, a real thing. I mean, it's very evident that we can see prices are rising up. It's getting more and more expensive. It's inevitable because things are rare. It's limited in quantity, and there's a huge demand for it. As economics goes, when there's demand and limited supply, prices will go up. So yes, it is very real. And as a business, I do find it tough because I'm constantly being priced out by somebody with a higher budget. There are a lot of collectors out there who are just keeping them and not selling them off. Nismo titanium strut bar is a very interesting part that I acquired. One of the contacts I have in Japan, this Japanese guy, one day he revealed to me that actually he knows one of the director in Nismo. So I talked to him for a bit and I said, hey, can you get me some Z-Tune parts? Which he declined. I kept on asking for a couple of years until one day he decided and said, okay, fine, I'm gonna ask now, but on one condition. Whatever the asking price is, you must buy. There is no, because I guess it's just Japanese face value. So I said, fine, okay, I took a gamble and said, go ahead and ask. He came back to me and said, okay, this is the Z-Tune strut bar. There's only one available and you have to buy it. I said, okay, I'll take it. And that's how I ended up with it. That bar I kept for a while until somebody offered me a good price for it. Back then it was 2017, I think, and I sold it for Ringgit Malaysia 70,000. On the day I sold my 34 is on the day I paid for an S2000. So what happened is that I know of S2000 for sale. I saw photos of it and I know the background is my friend's workshop. So I know where is the car. So on the day I'm handing over the R34 to the new owners, it's in the afternoon. So in the morning I'm free. So I thought, hey, why not I go to the workshop and have a look at the car. So I drove towards the workshop and along the way, I saw the S2000 being driven on the road. And I followed the car and I guess I'm lucky because the car is heading to the workshop I'm heading to. So I met the owner there. We had a chat. He took me out for a ride And then he had to leave the car there for some work. So I told him, hey, why not I send you back? So he hopped into my car, I sent him back, and en route, so we began talking about the car and what's the price he's willing to let it go for. And we agreed on a price, and we shook on it. On the spot, I gave him a deposit, and that's how I ended up with the S2000. My S2000 is a year 2007 UK spec. Officially, it's called the AP1 facelift because the UK never got the AP2. Some people call it the AP 1.5. What's the difference is that everything on the car is actually AP2. From the body parts to the suspension geometry to the interior trim, headlights, tail lights. The only difference is it still retains the AP1 engine. So you get a 9,000 RPM engine, but everything else is AP2, which to me I think is the best combination of all. To me, the original lines are already beautiful, so I like to keep it that way with some choice bits, and these choice bits are of original Honda bits, and Type S front lip, Type S rear spoiler, and I think that finishes off the car beautifully. But on top of that, I add in the Mugen dry carbon hood and also aluminium rear diffuser, and that's it for me. I think it looks as good as it can be right now. I just love the factory lines and I want to keep it that way. The way I approach the S2000 is basically an OEM plus build. Retains it as it is, drives beautifully. I don't need extra power. I believe the car is powerful enough for what it is. It's enjoyable enough. This is my ideal S2000. There's nothing else that I want to do with it anymore. The RX-7 purchase is another interesting topic. I actually went full circle with it. I went to see a car in January 2021, met the seller, agreed on a price. But unfortunately, 2 hours before our next meetup to hand in deposit, he changed his mind. He said he's not selling anymore. So I said, fine. Then I found out he sold to somebody else at a higher price. I mean, I was upset, but it is what it is, it's fine. Fast forward a couple of months later, in August 2021, I actually paid for a Lancer Evolution 6 GSR. But when the car arrived from Japan, it is actually not up to my standard. Mechanically, it's sound, it's fine, but there are just rust everywhere. So the car was sold to somebody else, and a month later, I chanced upon my red RX-7. It is a lot more expensive than the first one I saw, a whole lot more expensive, but it is a fine specimen. I just had to get it. It is a year 2000 model, Series 8, version 6, 80,000 kilometers on the clock, 100% stock standard when you left Japan, and graded 4 on the auctions with B for interior. So I emptied my bank account and I just grabbed it. How I approach the RX-7 now is I'm trying to keep it as original as possible. I only done minor things like exhaust, wheels and brakes. In the future, I might do some cooling mods. So that would be like radiator, better oil coolers, and perhaps a vented hood. But I'm not sure yet. At the moment, it is what it is, and I'm keeping it stock. Although the S2000 and the RX-7 is pretty similar, but they present both very different driving feel. The S2000 is obviously lesser powered, but it is easier to drive a lesser powered car hard than otherwise. So I enjoy pushing the S2000 a lot more than I enjoy pushing the RX-7. RX-7 gives me a different feeling because of how the rotary is. It's a very unknown, very different engine to a lot of people out there, and I just want to get into the ownership of a rotary car. What's unbeatable about the car is how it sounds, how it's drive. It is perfectly balanced. I managed to take it to the track once, and I'm actually pretty amazed at how balanced the car is around corners. Without electronic aids, it just turns and just corners. Or if somebody will come with a 34 GTI and swap both cars, I would decline. Reason being is because I had a 34 before. Although it's not a GTR, it is still a 34. I've had experience a Skyline already, so I would actually rather try something else. A lot of my friends have really moved on to other cars from JDM cars. Majority of them probably have moved on to your regular family cars. Some have moved on to Continental cars, and some move up the ladder to exotics. For me, I stick to 90s era Japanese sports cars because it's what feels the feeling for me. It just gives a sense of enjoyment when you drive cars that are more analog in feeling, where you get to change your own gears, where you get to on your own headlights even, on your own wiper even. So modern cars do everything for you. I just like to be in control and be at one with the car. The culture back then was we were trying to emulate the Japanese. So what people do is they mod their car with Japanese magazines as reference, and we strive to have that standard. Nobody is trying to show off too much. It's more of a sharing session. Everybody is showing off what they have done to the car and telling you they have got this part and what it does and all. And if you don't know, you can ask anybody. So it's quite a close-knit community. Perhaps I'm just old-fashioned. Keep on doing what you do. Also, please drive more carefully. Everybody try to be the faster one. Everybody try to be ahead. So just drive at your own pace. You don't have to be number one. There's no trophy at the end of the tunnel.